Hey guys, Erin here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel and for checking out this video. We are breaking down the four key things, no, not four. We're breaking down the three key things that you need to know about the FAR exam and how to set yourself up for success from the very beginning with this test. If you've checked out any of our other videos, you'll know, and I've said it in some of the others, I just want to reiterate it. This is not about what I did to pass the FAR exam. While I did pass it, what I did to get a passing score is not necessarily going to work for you. Because we're different, we're coming to this with different experience, and really what I did doesn't make any difference to you. It's of little value and little consequence. What I can do that's going to help you more is to help you understand and kind of prepare for what you're going to see with the FAR exam, so that you can make adjustments to your process, you can plan accordingly, and make sure that whatever you're doing really suits you and helps you to get closer to a passing exam. Okay, so the three key things that you need to understand about FAR: volume, volume, volume. Does that count? That's three things. No, I won't cheat you like that. But truly, the big thing about FAR, and part of the reason that it has gotten this terrible reputation out there, is because it does have a lot of material on it. Now, if you really look at it, compared to some of the other exams, it's not that significantly much more content than some of the other exams. Like Reg in particular has also a decent amount of material. And for some reason, FAR just gets this horrible reputation. So keep in mind, it's not all that bad, right? Our reputations are not always accurate. So keep in mind, though, there is a lot of material. I won't deny that. So one of the things that you need to do in terms of planning that can help set you up for success is make sure to carve out review time. You need to be reviewing with this exam as you go along. You cannot save it all to the end. When candidates don't review throughout the process, what they end up doing at the end in those last couple weeks leading up to the exam is either A, run out of time and are basically studying new material all the way up to their exam day, which is not great. Or two, in that review time that they've carved out before the exam, they end up going back and restudying everything, which is not review. Because it's been 8-10 weeks since they saw the early chapters of content, so now they're having to refresh themselves on everything. That's not a very efficient process, and it's not going to be very effective for you either. So instead, make sure when you're planning out your study time that you are carving out days to do some dedicated review over everything you've covered so far, and do that throughout the process. Okay, that brings me to number 2, which is mindset. You absolutely have to have a strong mindset going into FAR. As I've alluded to, there are some rumors going out around there. I'm sure you've heard things about FAR. You may even have some preconceived notions about how this is going to be for you. And so many of the challenges that I see candidates having with this exam are mental. So make sure that you're not only focused on the technical part of the exam, right, the content itself and mastering the material, but that you're also taking care of the mental, the strategic side. The biggest challenge I see with this one is, even though you're studying chapter 3, and that's what you're focused on, so much energy oftentimes is focused also on worrying about, oh my gosh, there's so much more material to cover. How am I ever going to get through all this? How am I going to remember all of it? And that's all energy that could be dedicated to the studying that's right in front of you. That's just an example of the mental side of this exam, and I'm a huge proponent of that, more so here than on any other exam, although I think it's critical everywhere, but especially on FAR, you've got to get your mindset right. If you're going into this thinking that this exam is going to get you, it's absolutely going to get you. So do whatever it takes. Visit my website. There's some free resources out there too to help you with your mindset. It's especially critical on this exam. And then finally, number 3, the government section. One of the common things that I hear, and I actually spoke about this on our reg video, so you could check that out, but government is sort of FAR's version of reg's business law. I hear a lot of candidates saying things like, well, government is such a small portion, or nonprofit is such a small, unique, niche area, that logically you could draw the conclusion that most of the test is going to be on these other topics. So I should focus my energy there, and government is sort of an afterthought. I understand the logic and I don't agree with it. Like I said with business law, if it's there, it's in the material, it's absolutely fair game. While it might be a slightly lower percentage than, say, select financial statement accounts, that's a huge, broad topic. There's so much included in there. You have no way of knowing what's going to show up on your test. And what I've been hearing over the last 18 months or so, maybe even longer, is that government has been showing up a lot. So like the others, make sure that you don't, just like in business law, like I suggested, don't let that one sort of sneak away from you. Don't think that it's not important or it's something you could just read through or glaze over at the end. It's really important to give each chapter its amount of time that it deserves, and make sure that you're solid on as much of that content as you can. I guess a little bonus tip tied to that is just know, because there's so much more material on this exam than on others, you may not be able to reach the level of mastery across the board like you could in others. What I mean by that is, with taking an exam like audit, if you understand the audit process and you study appropriately and it's making sense to you, it's a pretty safe bet to say, like, you could get all of the content areas, all of the chapters to that 80, 85, 90, wherever you're at, right? But that pretty solid range, and you could get a consistency in your scores across all the material. With an exam like FAR, those expectations are sometimes not realistic, especially because they really do cover a wide variety of topics. So you may be super solid in 9 out of 10 of them, but it's not uncommon to have those 1 or 2 areas that are just slightly more challenging for you. And again, due to the volume and due to time constraints, expecting yourself to have that consistent level of mastery across the board is not necessarily a great target. What I always encourage my clients to do is get everything as solid as you possibly can, and know that it all just averages out in the end. So hope that helps. Again, the key thing with FAR is it is a big volume, but don't let that intimidate you. Make sure you go in with a solid plan, work your plan, and you're going to be solid.